Okay, here we go. So, I've set my timer so I don't go over. Because you can only load so much on YouTube. Okay, so let's start talking about women's studies and feminism. So let me ask you a question. How many feminists can you name? Just off the top of your head, right? Can you name more than 5? Do you know who the first woman was to run for president of the United States? How many historical figures in feminism can you name? How many women have won the Oscar for Best Director? How many women billionaires are there? I mean, ask yourself some questions about feminism. What do we really know as a culture about feminism? And most of it is not very good. So feminism doesn't have a universal set of conclusions as, say, like the Republican Party or the Democrat. Republicans say less government, Democrats say more government. There's not like a party rule about feminism that says feminism is this and this and this that you can check off, right? It doesn't fit into a dominant paradigm. When I say dominant paradigm, I mean the way our culture is organized and structured. Feminism is actually critical of our dominant structure, right? And so what we come up with is lots of negative stereotypes. We're hairy-legged dykes who hate men, blah, 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 right? Well, there are some women who have I have hairy legs. And there's lots of feminists who have hairy legs. There's lots of feminists who are lesbians. And there's lots of feminists who actually don't like men. But that's not all of feminism, right? When you think of the Westboro Baptist Church, right? The people who, when Matthew Shepard was murdered, and he had his funeral, his poor family's grieving, and everybody's standing at the cemetery. And the Westboro Baptist Church showed up with huge signs, like big as a car, signs that says God hates fags, which is a terrible, it's hard for me to even just say that, but huge signs at a young boy's funeral. And so they've been coming, I'm sure you've seen them, they've been coming to a lot of funerals of people, military service people who have died and they come back to the United States. And they're at their funerals, protesting what they think is an abomination and whatever it is that their beliefs are in the name of Christianity. Now, are you a Christian? Would you not identify with Christianity because of the Westboro Baptist Church? No. They're a bunch of fringe people, right? They're the most extreme form of hate in the name of Christianity there is, right? So why would you not call yourself a feminist? Just because there's one or two hairy-legged, man-hating feminists out there, right? That's not all feminists. So you can't just say, I'm not going to call myself a feminist because those two feminists over there are just crazy, right? They're just nuts, or whatever. And that's how the media spins it, right? If the media spins it as, well, feminists are all just, extreme, then it makes it sound like all feminists are extreme. That's not the case. So the point of women's studies, the academic arm of feminism, is to eliminate oppression of women in all forms. That's what being a feminist means, right? We're challenging the basic assumptions about our culture that says that sexism is a standard practice. We all know sexism exists, right? Women don't get paid as much as men in the workplace. I mean, we can make a whole long list of that kind of thing, right? So, a good definition is from Bell Hooks, my personal guide and savior. She believes that the definition of feminism is the struggle and movement to end sexism, sexist oppression, and exploitation. And that's it. If you can stand here right now and say, I don't believe in sexism, you're a feminist. Yes, you are. You are. So feminism examines systems of domination and oppression that goes on because of our gender, right? Simply because you're born with a uterus, there's all these psychological, economic reasons that we are oppressed, right? Simply because we have a uterus. Okay, so I'm going through my little PowerPoint here, trying to rush. Sorry. So women's studies is the academic arm of feminism. A lot of people will say that. It's interdisciplinary. It uses concepts of psychology, philosophy, history, sociology, all the academic disciplines combined make up feminism, right? And so they're using theory to explain a philosophy, a way of knowing that centers the experience of women, right? Women's experience with sexism, right? And so it's an education for social change. It's saying to the culture, here's a problem, we need to change it, right? So they're trying to understand new forms of knowledge. So for example, in most of your classes, not all, but most of your classes are going to be history and chemistry and all these hard sciences where the assumption is that you have an empty head and they want to rip your head open, fill it with information, put the head back on, shake it up, and you spit out the information. That is the banking method, coined by Paulo Freire, of learning that many women's studies scholars believe that doesn't work for people. For some people it does. Some people, that's their learning and that's fine. But for consciousness raising, for learning about, for being able to examine sexism and to point it out and say, yes, that's sexism, that's what it is, let's get rid of it. You need something a little more complex, right? So, so some of your questions, let's jump to some of your questions. Some of you have posted, this women's studies is very right brain. I don't know how I can deal with this. Well, it is different. You're not used to something like this. How are we doing on time? No, all of us are not used to this. The American system of education is based on the banking method, right? So it's going to take a little time to trust yourself and trust other people and have compassion for yourself and others as we learn how to recognize. And we're going to stumble. We're going to say stupid stuff. I say stupid stuff all the time. All the time. Because of course we do. We were raised in this culture, right? So if you say something sexist or racist or whatever-ist, that's a product of our cultural learning. It's not you as a bad person. We're not all bad people, right? We learned all this. It's on TV constantly. We breathe it. It's in the air. You can't help it. So so it doesn't take really a right brain or a left brain to learn this. Just an open mind, willingness to learn. Okay. So let's see. So when did feminism start? Well, most scholars say. Oh, this is going to end in a second. So let's move on to the next chapter. I'll stop this video and we'll start again with when did feminism start, okay? So